All right, so we're going to go back and talk about writing these equations of circles, and we're going to be writing them today by using the distance formula. So the first thing is we want to recall what the standard form for writing these equations is. And our standard form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And hk is going to be our radius, our center, and r is the radius. So now, if we're given a point and a radius for our circle, we can write what our equation would be simply by plugging in. X is h, y is k in my points, radius is r, and I'm going to plug those into my standard form. So we'll have x minus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals, well, if the radius is 2 and I want to square it, 2 squared would give me 4. So my standard form of this equation of the circle would be x minus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 4. Let's jump down to number 6 here and talk about that one really quick. Number 6, if I have 15, negative 6 with a diameter of the square root of 58, well, I know that this is h, this is k, and my diameter is double my radius. So that means I need to divide this by 2 to get r. Now, I know we could probably simplify that, make this a little bit easier to look at. However, because of what our next step is going to be with this, I'm just going to leave it as it is. So let's start plugging things in. We have x minus 15 squared plus y. If I have minus a negative 6, that minus a negative becomes plus a positive 6. So it's just plus 6 squared equals, now I need to square this fraction to get my r squared. That basically means I'm taking each part of my fraction and I'm squaring it. So on the bottom, I'm going to have 4. But if I have the square root of something and I square it, I'm negating or canceling out this square root sign. So I have 158 over 4. And you can type this into a calculator to see that your fraction here will reduce down. And it will reduce down to 79 over 2. Or in other words, it would reduce down to 30. All right, so just a quick review on how to write those standard form of our circle equations. We can do the same thing when given a graph. So depending on where the middle of this circle is, I can see the middle is here on this graph, which would be 3 on x, and down to y, and then the radius, so from the center out is 5. So our standard form for this equation would be x minus 3 squared plus, again, we have a negative y, so minus a negative would give me a positive 2 squared, and then we have 5 squared will give me 25. So let's move on to looking at these when we use the distance formula. All right, so continuing on with these circle equations, we're going to use the distance formula and midpoint formula to figure out the equation for our circles now. So remember, distance is d equals the square root of our x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. And our midpoint is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. and that is a coordinate point. So we'll have an x and a y, whereas for distance, we just get one value out of that. So for the first example, we have our center is given to us, and we have a point on our circle. When we're given the center and a point on the circle like this one, what we need to do is we need to figure out what the radius is going to be. So we already have the standard part of the equation. I have my x, which is h, and the y, which is k, for my circle equation. And we use minus my center of 9, we square that, plus y minus the center, which is 10, and square that. And then we'll have whatever our radius is squared. Well, to find what our radius is, we can take our center and find the distance from the center to the point on my circle. So that's giving me this line right here on that circle. So to do that, we're going to use our distance formula. Distance equals the square root of x1, which is 9, minus x2, which is 7, and square that, plus y1, which is 10, and y2, which is 4, minus 4, and square it. So I get that distance is 9 minus 7 would give me 2. 2 squared is 4. 10 minus 4 gives me 6. And 6 squared is 36. So I get that my distance is the square root of 40. Well, this gives me the distance. I need my radius. But I don't just need the radius for my equation. I need my radius squared. So remember, if I'm going to take this distance as equal to my radius, I need to square this number. And when I have the square root of something and I square that, these two just cancel each other out. So really, my radius squared is 40. So we'll put 40 as the last part of our equation. As always, you can try out some of these other examples here. You shouldn't need to use the midpoint like these examples there, but if you want to see if you can figure those out, you can certainly try that. I will be posting the entire sheet for our notes today, so you can give those a try. If you have any questions, let me know. See you later.